I am the secret sauce behind some of the country's top YouTube channels. I don't think most people want the kind of attention that being famous on YouTube can garner, and I don't think most people have that talent anyway. In 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 3 thymoma cancer, and I had developed this 12-centimeter tumor in my chest. It's like the size of a grapefruit. I go through the whole process: surgery to take the thing out, radiation, chemotherapy, and just obliterates me. I mean, just obliterates me. I'm finished up with the chemo, and I'm in and out of the hospital with side effects. The chemo and the radiation fried a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going in and out of the hospital. I'm starting to finally feel better. 4.5 years later, cancer comes back, full on stage 4. Doctor's white as a ghost. He goes, "You have cancer all over your body." And I said, no. I had cancer. That was 4.5 years ago. And he goes, "No, these are your x-rays from today." And he showed me the x-rays, and I was like, whoa. There's this sense of, it's like, I've heard of people beating cancer before, And then that starts to, but that's just all hippie stuff. They're not being reported on, and they don't see them, right? And it's like, so I'm getting better. And she closed the file. She sighed. She looked at me and she said, "You are going to die from this."
YouTube, cancer, and living naturally. I got to sit down with my friend Owen Video today, talking about his journey as a YouTube coach and being in YouTube from the beginning, and also his journey with cancer and how he has survived and thrived for the last few years after they said that he was going to be dead within 2 years. We're going to dive deep into this episode and this story. This is The Inward Mind. Welcome to The Inward Mind. This is Billy M. Ward, and I have Owen Hemsath here, Owen Video, the man, the myth, the legend, here sitting in the studio with me. And I just wanted to bring him on because we've been pals and working on a lot of stuff for a long time now. I think it's been like 4 or 5 years now that we've been working on this stuff. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has, and we've traveled the country.
Yep.
Doing projects for high-level people and big names. And so when it's like Billy's doing a podcast, it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make it work.
Absolutely. And that's why I love this podcast. Like I said, I'm searching for stories, and we've got lots of stories together.
Yeah.
And you've got lots of powerful stories and things that we've been working on in the past and in the future, and things going well with you and your family, and kind of excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we're certainly in a season of abundance, and it's interesting how the human nature works. It's like you can be surrounded by abundance, and yet there's strife, and there's grief, and there's like sorrow and passion, and like obstacles to be overcome, all those little things. And I was just thanking God the other day for the journey, right? Like just going like, man, God, thank you that it's this adventurous, at least we're there. This is exciting, and even in the down times, you can be grateful for the adventure of it all.
Dude, the adventure is one of the biggest parts. Like I always talk about this with people, and not everyone thinks this. They always think the end goal is what you want it to be, but it's like the whole journey that you move along in the path. That's the whole thing. Because in the end, you'll hit your goal and be like, cool, this is it.
You hit your goal, and you don't even realize that you hit your goal, right? It's about the person you become while you're hitting your goals. And that's what I've noticed about all high performers that I know is you get to this place where you hit that number, and you're like, well, I knew I was going to hit that 4 months ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. You already started thinking about next year and what's happening next year. And that's the exciting part, is watching who you become as a person, being able to sit back and be like, wow, like look at who I am now, where I was, where I came from, what this company's doing, what we stand for, my family, my children, the legacy. That's exciting. That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the money's also really good.
The money is good. And when you were talking about like, yeah, the high performers don't typically hit their goals. Like I did like an audit of myself. I looked back. I always keep like, I like writing stuff down, like a physical journal for my goals, because tech for me, I spend a lot of time on tech, video producing, all that stuff. Like, so being able to just write pen to paper is always nice for my goals. And I was looking back a couple of years and I was like, a couple of years ago, I was like, I will be full-time doing video and run my own business like by this time. And I've smashed that goal. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm way further along to where I'm at. And I'm like, now I'm like thinking in my brain, like, well, I got to give myself a little bit of credit.
I think you're very successful for a person of your age, you know, in your age, like your age group specifically, you know, to have 3 kids and a thriving business to where I have to like, hey, are you available? That's really exciting to see. And that's not to put down other people in your age group. It's just an age group that people have said like, there's not a lot of hope or you know, whatever. And it's just like, are you kidding me? I know Billy M. Ward, like as long as there's 10% of you guys, like is 10% of the population is like you, the other 90% doesn't stand a chance. You know? And it's exciting to see because you are, I think, working at really high levels at a young age. And I can only imagine, I was 30 years old when I first realized that there could be a world without drinking and partying all the time. You know, I just got married, just came to know the Lord, and I was like, wow, like, but I was 30 already. You know, I was 31 by the time I had my first kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, you've got such momentum, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, and I'm only 29, so I got lots of years ahead. So it's just kind of
geez,
so much. It's just nice to know. It's nice to know that I've also like the options are endless too. I think that's kind of like the wisdom of getting older too. Like, oh, cool, like. When I was younger, I was like, I don't have much time to do this, and I'm like, wait, but I'm still 29.
So much time.
Even if I hit 30, I think I'll still be okay where I'm at and continuing to go.
So much time. I mean, my kids are getting older. I have a 16-year-old stepson. I have a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and I'm getting into this age where they can finally hold a baseball mitt. I remember I bought them baseball mitts like the day that they're born. You know, I'm kind of like that dad. Like, here's like a Louisville Slugger, you know what I mean? And now here we are. They're finally able to literally put their hands in the mitts I bought 10 years ago, whatever the case might be. And so there's this new level of life, right? Like life is always reinventing itself. And so some of the interesting parts of their toddlerhood, right? It's like dad's not involved too much in that. Mom's kind of doing everything. And I'm just trying to make sure that there's enough, you know, milk in the fridge to make it all happen, reading bedtime stories, getting to this place where they can actually play with me and do stuff, and they can climb rocks and jump into rivers and do backflips off of rope swings. Like, it's really exciting to see that stuff. So we've taken this approach of, I don't want to call it the business comes second, because I think if you were to look at my hours broken down, you'd see intentional dad time, but you'd also see just like, we swim in the water of my business. Like, that's the pool that we play in. So how you like, oh, the kids are going to come first. They always kind of do, but they always are kind of like, we're all working together. But the decision was that we could make we could build a multi-million-dollar business, but we may miss out on some important moments for the kids. And, you know, I was actually reading Patrick Bet-David, and he was talking about how he made the decision to miss some family dinners, and build this huge company. And I'm like, look, I've still got plenty of time, but the kids will only be this age right now. Yeah. So it's okay for me to be hitting 50. I'm not anywhere close to 50 now, but like in 10 years, right? In 6 years, when the kids are growing up, that's when I can really pull into the business and build it multi-million. Just me and my wife travel the world. The kids are off in college. They're off building companies. They're married with kids, you know? Yeah. So on the issue of time, I think we have more time.
Yeah. I think like, people just don't ever think about that. They just think like, oh, I need to be a millionaire by 30.
Yeah.
And that's like, dude, that's such a burden. Like when I release that weight, it's so much easier to be like, okay, cool. Well, I can still like, as like kind of like what you said, where I'm at in my age group with 3 kids and being able to run a successful business to where I don't work another job. All I do is
make a living. I want to make a living in America by the time I'm 30. Yeah. Like that's killer, bro. Yeah. Like to make a living on your own blood, sweat, and tears. Talk about homesteading, right? But like entrepreneurialism is the homesteading of the American male's life, right? Could I survive on my own in this economy? What a question. I think some people are not suited for it. Some people are suited for the work a job. I'm an intrapreneur. I'm going to build a company that already exists. But I know for me, man, that I couldn't have that. I know for me, it was like, can I make my way? Can I make my mark in America? And that was a driving force for me.
Yeah, and making the way is so, like, nowadays. Last podcast I did was with one of my friends who's a realtor, and it's like, she's got the perspective. It's always a good time. It's always the right time to buy the right real estate. But it's like, in a lot of people's, especially in my age, like, got to think about it. Like, it's gonna cost me, like, it cost people years of work to be able to even get a down payment for a house now, as places continue to rise and things that go like that. It's like, so making a living here is become harder over the years.
Yes.
But it's like, just take that risk of trying to get to that point where you're like, okay, cool. I'll do this. I don't have to work a normal job. I'll just continue to be like, that's the best thing is my wife doesn't have to work and she gets to help raise my three kids.
That is the Mercedes of 2024, dude. Like, your wife doesn't have to work at your age. When I got married, I was 30 years old. My wife had a full-time job working as a teacher. And she would come home 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I had the kids. I was taking them to daycare, and she had to unwind. I'll tell you, like, since then, we've brought her home. She helped build the company, and now she's really educating the kids and spending most of her time in educating our children. Mm-hmm. But what a journey that has been. Like, that has been the biggest privilege, is my wife and I in unity, right? Because she thrives, like, pulling her out of the business where she did very well. She tripled our sales. But then watching her go into the home, and it's just like, she's in her zone and she's thriving and the kids are thriving. That's something to brag about.
Yeah, it's cool. And most people can't do that. They have to have, the wife has to work and the husband both have to work to make things work out and all of this stuff. And it's kind of crazy that that's been shifted. And I have my own, I'll just leave that at the table, beliefs of why that happened. But let's kind of pivot a little bit and explain what you do, right? So you're on here and you're talking about the business and being an entrepreneur and things like that. So explain what you do to the audience here.
This is going to blow your mind, but I am the secret sauce behind some of the country's top YouTube channels. There, I said it. It's out there. It's in the ether. I'm a YouTube coach. I'm a YouTube consultant, and I have a company where we help brands and small businesses launch YouTube channels. It's an amazing place that I get to live in because we don't have to go viral. We don't have to attract millions every week to our channel, but we get to produce videos that are entertaining and fun and like a lot like podcasts, you know, and they drive people in, they want to do business. I've been doing this for 13 years. That's all I've ever done. It's not like I was in crypto and then it fell and then I went into YouTube from day one. I was a videographer and I was knocking on doors in downtown Utah and Salt Lake City and in downtown San Diego. And I would knock on doors and I say, hey, I'll make a video for your business for $20 or $100, whatever the deal was at that time. Mm-hmm. But we did 6 figures our first year, and that brought a lot of people, it put me on a lot of radars. And so at this time, there wasn't a lot of YouTube influencers. There was certainly no Mr. Beast or anything like it. And so I got in really early with Daryl Eves, Tim Schmoyer, and some of the people that ended up building YouTube, and I've been able to coach some channels in how to get more views and how to get more subscribers and how to live stream. We were killing it with live stream a couple years ago.
Remember that.
But people, I don't work with many creators anymore. There are a lot of my friends, and I might come in from time to time to do some monetization stuff with them and like let's develop a product or a program. But mostly I spend my time with business professionals and building YouTube channels for real estate agents or for lawyers or for health coaches, that type of thing. And I love it. I love what I do.
Well, from moving the shift over, because I know you did you went from doing stuff on the creator side yourself to be doing the YouTube coaching side.
Yeah.
What made that transition of a couple years ago of going strictly to working with business owners?
Yeah, that was tough, man, because we were producing skit videos and we were doing very well. And I thought, I'm crushing YouTube. Like, this is great. Like, we had a video called The Sin Caller that was early success, 20,000 views in a weekend, a week, something like this. And so we made a few more and they did okay. But then I was got really heavy into Vine, right? And so Vine was blowing up, and I was blowing up with a guy named David Lopez, who ended up being the spokesperson for Vine, right? And they're close friends of ours, and we got to watch him, you know, kind of rise up. And what I saw was this real heavy focus on like, I have to make another big one. And even I was getting stressed out, like with sketch comedy. It's like, man, I got to come up with another skit. And it's like, I got to get 17 people, or even if it's like 5 people, I got to get 5 people over to the church to like film this thing at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got 2 kids under 2 at home. You know, it became a lot. And I remember thinking, so on the side, I'm doing this videography work, right? So it's like I do video work for them, but I'm trying to build my own creator business, and I'm trying to build AdSense and this sort of thing. And I'm working so hard for the AdSense when like this real estate company has, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in a budget, and they don't know how to make video. In my creator space, I'm surrounded by people that are just as talented as I am, right? Even more talented, better editing skills, better resources. And it was really hard to like keep it up. But then on the business side, I was the only guy there that knew how to talk video with business professionals. And so I thought back to kind of it popped into my head is the gold rush in 1849, right? And who made the big money? It wasn't the shovelers. It wasn't the gold diggers. It was the people who sold them shovels. It was the restaurants. And so I thought, look, being a creator is great, but I'm going to focus on a business. I'm going to build a strong business model. And I'm going to do that by selling shovels to the business community. And so I began to sell videos and like how to make videos and how to build a channel. What are like the 10 steps to building a channel, and like how to, like all my programs are just like the YouTube framework. And it's, we talk a lot about production. You know, I first got into your studio and I'm looking at all these mics and I'm like, oh, you got the Rode arms and everything. Like I'm building out a studio with a guy right now who has created a software for martial arts studios, and he's done extremely well. He's a multi-million-dollar company. He just joined our program, and now what I'm doing with him is I'm building out his studio and his wall and his lights and everything, and that's how I get to do both. But initially it was that, how can I be competitive? Like, am I more competitive as a sketch comedian, or am I more competitive as like an entrepreneur? And we did extremely well there. And I still get to hang out with creators.
Yeah. We've definitely hung out with lots of creators together too. We've been to Vid Summit on 3 occasions now, and we went to Chosen Con, which was like a huge thing this last year, and it was a lot of fun, and we had a good time talking with creators and other people all alike.
And I'm the MC of those events, right? So like we have VIP access, and the producers of Vid Summit is who mentored me in this space, and he is the executive producer of the shows and one of the partners in the program. It's being early and being good, you know, has been a big part of my game plan, a part of my strategy. You don't know you're good in the moment. In the moment, you just hope you're alive. It's just like, I hope I'm making enough money. But then when you turn around and you stand back and you go, look at what I get to do. Look at where I get to be. Look at who the 5 people are next to me. And it's really an incredible feeling. And you're honored. If I'm speaking, I say you praise the Lord. Yeah. You praise the Lord, and yet you're like, how much farther can we go?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, that's awesome to think about, because I always like, there's this nagging feeling in the back of people's brains. Like, I want to be the guy, right?
Yeah.
I want to be the Mr. Beast. I want to do the other things. I just think that's one of the things that people need to kind of put to the side, because there's only one Mr. Beast, and there's only going to be like,
and one moment in history too. Like Mr. Beast Jimmy was making videos spinning around in a chair for a decade. Now, how many of you guys listening, your parents would have allowed that? Most of our parents wouldn't even have allowed that. They're like, hey, you got to get to scout camp or something, right? You got to go do. I'm not saying Jimmy didn't do any of that. And I've met his mom, and she's darling. She's awesome. And I'm not trying to make a comment on that. What I'm saying is, like, there was only one moment in time where YouTube being at its pinnacle of market saturation, and the creator who had built up a decade worth of experience and knowledge. And let's face it, Jimmy's a little Elon, right? He's a little bit like, is he kind of genius? Like, is he kind of like next level genius? Like, would you even like be able to stand in a room with a conversation with this guy? All of those things emerged at one point in history, and they created Mr. Beast and the surrounding empire, the Airax, the Ryan Trahans, all great dudes. But what's next is the big thing, right? Like, there's 3 of those guys. I mean, and Mr. Beast blows them all out of the water.
Yeah, there's no competition.
So how many of those are there going to be in history? It's like you're not all going to be NBA stars. So you have to really think about like what do you want out of your life? And this is like, I just came to understand that like, oh my gosh, I could like formulate and plan my own life. And when that happens, it's like ultimate freedom because you rise or fall on your own laurels. You know what I mean? But that's where I want to be. I want to be in this place where it's just like, how big of an impact in this culture can we make? Yeah. How big can our company get? How little do people have to actually know who I am? Because let me tell you something. You start to get a little famous and you go to these events. You see me at these events. Like, I'm not even a popular guy, but I'm well connected. Like, I see friends and I see colleagues and, we were just doing a deal with you and that, there's your team over there. Could you imagine being Mr. Beast in a Walmart or Airax at a Target? Like, you can't move.
Yeah. Well, just to give some of you guys a reference, we were at Vid Summit, and it was like the president came to Vid Summit. He showed up. We were me and Owen were behind the stage. I'm filming because Owen's emceeing and about to announce Mr. Beast on the stage. Literally, he pulls up, walks through the back door. They put a microphone on him. Owen introduces him. He goes on stage, talks on stage, gets off stage, goes back out the back door, goes through a car and leaves. It's like literally like the president was walking in and it was like, wow. Like,
and he got mobbed even there. People ran the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was pretty crazy to think about like the fact that when you're talking about the apex of like only going to be one of those kind of people.
Yeah.
Most people are trying to get that in their brain, but they're not actually thinking about like, it's okay to not be there, and being in the background on some situations is actually might be more beneficial for you in the long run, for whether that's your mental health or other things like that. Like, not everybody can handle that.
Lifestyle choice, man. Yeah. I don't want that. And I love that Jimmy has it, right? I love that somebody's living that. But at the end of the day, you got to carve out your own life and what you really want to do. I don't think most people want the kind of attention that being famous on YouTube can garner. And I don't think most people have that talent anyway. YouTube is this incredible dartboard game where you're throwing darts and you hit bullseye, 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 and you're on top of the world. And then you hit like a 777 and you can't get your engine moving again. You start another bad video, and now your whole identity, your whole ecosystem is wrapped around your popularity in this fleeting world of 1 million subscribers where nobody really knows you and cares about you. And if they don't have your channel this week, they'll find someone else's channel. I want to be more important in the lives of the people that we touch. Now, obviously, we have a cancer channel and we get millions of views on that channel. But there's a space there that we've created, because it's like, at the end of the day, if you guys don't have my content, you'll go get someone else's, and I can't kill myself and I can't sacrifice my family for that. Yeah. So it's like, what is the business you want to build? And for me, it was like, how can I have maximum impact? And that's what we're building towards now. We're really excited about it.
And it's great. I love what you guys are building. It's just fun to be a part of some of the things in the background. Like I'll get their emails from their business, and I see like, oh, I took that photo, or I was there, I did that. Oh, sweet,
I love that.
And it's such a fun aspect of being like, kind of talking about being in the background. It's like, not very many people know that I do the stuff for your business, but then they'll see me at Vid Summit or do some certain things. I'm like, oh, Billy, good to see you.
You start to remember that. You start to see them again. Yeah. It really creates a sense of community.
And it's nice to build that community with some of the people that you know from Vid Summit and just talking and meeting with those people. And it's super awesome. You said cancer channel, and most people don't know what you're talking about on my end of cancer. Yeah. You have a very powerful story with cancer. Will you kind of dive into that from like Whether you can leave out as much details as you want, but from the beginning kind of to where you're at now.
Yeah.
From the first time to the second time to where you're at.
I'm really public about our cancer journey, and I believe that deep down, that is the purpose. That is the meaning behind it all, you know, is when you come out of that battle is now to help others come out of that battle. You can't not do that, right? Like, it's just a part of, I think, the human experience. So in 2015, I was diagnosed with stage 3 thymoma cancer, and I had developed this 12-centimeter tumor in my chest. It's like the size of a grapefruit. And it's actually the thymus gland, right? So the thymus gland is what creates T cells, thymus cells. So it's your immune system, right? So I go through the whole process: surgery to take the thing out, radiation, chemotherapy, and just obliterates me. I mean, just obliterates me. I'm finished up with the chemo, and I'm in and out of the hospital with side effects. The chemo and the radiation fried a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going in and out of the hospital. I'm starting to finally feel better. 4.5 years later, cancer comes back, full on stage 4. Doctor's white as a ghost. He goes, "You have cancer all over your body." And I said, no. I had cancer. That was 4.5 years ago. And he goes, "No, these are your x-rays from today." And he showed me the x-rays, and I was like, whoa. Like, there's no preparing you for that moment where you don't know what you're looking at, but you know it's not good. Like, there shouldn't be that many bumps. You know, that many little light ups. So that began our journey into stage 4 terminal cancer, where the doctors told me that I would die in 2 years, that there would be no outliving this, but that I could really enjoy those last few years, and that's what I should focus on. So they kind of sent me away, and that's when we began our journey into wellness and holistic therapy treatments, what we call the metabolic treatment for cancer, because it's not all, it's not all dandelion tea and stuff like that. Like, there's intravenous vitamin C, and then these mega doses of like alpha lipoic acids and some things, hyperbaric chambers, which you need a prescription to access. But everything is non-toxic. Every treatment we did is non-toxic. And I didn't do it to prove a point. People ask me all the time, are you a plant-based eater because of a lifestyle choice? Like, they're trying to be like, it's usually these pro-meat guys, right? And it's like, no, actually, my health went to hell, and I had no choice but to start eating this way. So there's a certain level of diet that is just pivotal. Like, what you put in your body is going to cause things to grow or die in your body, right? And so I began this journey into, that's what I was going to say, is like the doctors gave us no hope. And so we're like, well, then we're going to have to do whatever it takes. Like, in the back of my mind, there was like, there's this sense of, it's like, I've heard of people beating cancer before, and then that starts to, but that's just all hippie stuff, and you get, let's read about this new emerging chemo and that new emerging pill. And so there's a lot of confusion and a lot of depression, and I had to battle through that. I mean, I had to deeply wrestle with God on that, and like, I was already an active, faithful Christian, and it's like, what are you talking about, Lord? Like, you're going to do this to me? Like, I'm a dad. I'm present with my kids, and you're going to remove me? And my wife's hot. So it's not like she's going to be single for very long, And I started to hear voices in my head say, no, she won't be single for very long. Like, the voice said, I'll take care of her. I'll find a new husband, and the boys will love the new husband. Like, and they're all going to be a happy family. And Owen, you can let go. That's what I heard the voice saying. And I knew it was an imposter. I knew it was an imposter voice, man. It's like, that's not the voice of the Lord, But that's the deep torment that I went through, being told by the doctor, I believed her. I believed the other doctor she brought out to like minister to me. Like, they brought another doctor out, like, hey, look, I can see you're upset. That's why we brought in another doctor. And he's like, yeah, you're going to die. Like, they actually thought that that would work. And there's cancer patients out there that know that this is the way that they treat you. So we just, we got through we went through some darkness, man. But then at the end of it, I just felt strongly that the Lord had given this to me in order to shine through me. And that I could reverse this thing. And so just this morning, I was on the phone with my doctor. 1 year cancer-free. 1 year. So I got my first cancer-free test last year. And it took 2 years to go cancer-free with all natural medicine. But I've been cancer-free for 1 year. And I'm still, I had a piece of bacon yesterday.
Celebration bacon.
I did. It was one piece. And it's like, I'm not afraid of bacon or anything. It's just that, when you leave the battlefield, you don't want to fire your gun. I don't, it's kind of like, hey, I'm still kind of building back. We just got back from Costa Rica. I wasn't able to eat the way I wanted to there. And so I'm in this process of healing. So it's like, you know what? Like, I'm free to eat that bacon, but I'm not like these guys can get on me online. Like, meat is so good for you. Meat is so good for you. I get it. I know. Go through what I went through, and then let's have a conversation about it. Like, 'cause there's a little element of, I don't want to touch the steak.
Yeah.
A little bit of PTSD with food. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because kind of back, because you've had these discussions offline of like talking about like everybody's body is different. Yeah. You would have loved that it would have been a carnivore diet, would have been the one that fixed your cancer. And don't get me wrong, like, you tried like almost everything. But I
knew it wouldn't for mine too. Like there are cancers where like that, like it's not just this blanket approach, right?
Yeah, and so being able to like know like, oh, cool, this probably won't work for me, so why should I try this? Because it's probably going to make things worse. Why don't I try the things that actually might work? And I know you went plant-based, and then you went vegan keto for a while there, and all of those things, and just kind of testing that out and seeing what worked. And I feel like people just wanted to be a blanket approach, like, oh, you have cancer, do this. And that's the thing. It's like,
it's not. It's so delicate. And I went in phases, right? And the first phase was just kind of like, do what other survivors tell you to do. I was very much like, I don't want to listen to doctors at this point, because the doctors. Here's what's crazy. Your mom gets diagnosed with cancer, and then they tell her, like, chemo it up, and she dies over 6 years, draining your savings and draining your insurance, you all these bills, and your mom suffered and died. That doctor will not remember your mom's name in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And should they? Right? Like, what's the role of the doctor, right? I think a lot of people would say, I don't want to give false hope, but it's like, who are you to say when it's hopeless? There is a fact that the cancer doctor, gets paid to refer certain products. That's a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's everyone, like, it's a public knowledge. But there's also this sense of like, they're not going through it. So whatever happens to you is ultimately on you. You're going to listen to those doctors, or you're going to Google your cancer. You're going to Google the chemotherapies. You're going to go find people that survived cancer. And it's great to find breast cancer survivors if you have breast cancer. It's great to find ovarian survivors if you have ovarian cancer. But you don't need that. And this is, people freak out when they hear this, because everybody wants, I wanted to find someone who beat thymoma. And I did. One person, it was in the medical there was a study done on her. One person, and she did vegan keto. And that's when I switched to vegan keto, because she did it, right? Now, I was blessed by that, but everyone's going to have this slightly different cancer with like, oh, but you've got a B2 mutation, and yours is extremely rare. This is one of the ones that they love to say, is yours is extremely rare. So my point is that the doctors are detached from the results of your therapy. And you have to take an active role. You have to decide, like, I'm going to understand my diagnosis. I'm going to be brave enough to go to my doctor's appointments. I'm going to Google my cancer. I'm going to Google survivors, and nothing is off the table. right? If you read a blog that says, salt and pepper will help decrease your symptoms, then look into it. If you find no other supporting evidence, hey, you toss it aside. But what if you find this mounds of research to support this one weird thing you heard? That could lead to be you being cancer-free. And here's the thing, the doctors will make fun of you. Your family will make fun of you. Your nurse friends will make fun of you. You'll get negative comments online, but you'll be alive. And I think that's an important point to discover.
Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy, that perspective of being alive instead of, because you're getting I've seen a lot of the hate that you get online too about some of the stuff you talk about.
I get a lot of love. You do get a
lot of love. I'm always sometimes surfing through some of the cancer channels to be like, oh, what are people saying today about some of the stuff? I do that every once in a while when I see like a negative comment or something pop across. But what was, I know that you're talking about those doctors that came in, like the 2 doctors. Did you, I never asked you this. Did you ever go back to them and then like get the scans and then like, whoa, what happened here? What was that reaction?
In fact, there was, like in terms of being healed?
Yeah, in terms of being healed.
Man, I healed right in front of them. So here was kind of my journey is that they told me that cancer was hopeless, but that chemotherapy would buy me some time. They said it would improve my quality of life. So I did a 15-minute drip of chemo 3 times. And after 3 times, I quit because it did not improve my quality of life. In fact, I was better. It was devastating. That 15 minutes only. The first time I did chemo for a week. So 15 minutes to me was like nothing, right? Yeah. But I'm sitting there and I'm just like, how much did that bag cost me? And I knew I was going to just be trashed coming out of here, right? So I did 3 rounds of chemo, and that took about 2 months to get through. And I told my doctor that I wasn't going to do chemo anymore. She told me I was making a big mistake. And I couldn't imagine why. I was like, you told me I was going to die. And so I began to do plant-based keto and fasting. So fasting and keto to me are like the same thing, right? When people hear keto, they think eggs and bacon for breakfast. That is not what I did. I fasted most of the time. And then I would refuel with sugar-free plants, and that's it. Like no carbs. Like it was a plant-based keto approach. No keto bars, no keto store-bought foods. Like it was just a whole foods, plant-based keto diet. So that's the bulk of what I did. And we got 30% reduction in tumors on the first scan. But the first scan included the chemotherapy. So our goal was to get further reduction without chemotherapy. And we got that on the second scan. And what happened is we began to go to shrink more and more. And I got healthier and healthier. I went from being like this kind of like chunky, gray-faced, sort of like cancer patient. I could barely move. I had these symptoms that because the tumors were everywhere and they were like cutting off nerves and blood flow and all sorts of stuff. So like I'm not a healthy person at this time. I was just getting up to get a glass of water would exhaust me, right? So I'm feeling better now. And because I'm not doing chemo, I'm feeling better all the time, right? I'm getting healthier. My color's coming back. I'm playing ball with the kids. And I came back in and I showed her, like we looked at a scan result and it was like that second scan or that third scan. I want to say it was the third scan because this was kind of like the breaking point for me is that I said, look at this progress. Because your doctor doesn't read the scans. Your doctor sends you to some other building to scan you. Then somebody else reads that scan. And then she reads their typed up notes. So it's not like she's looking at my x-rays, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this sheet and it's just like tumor size reduced, tumor size reduced. And I was like, there's 2 other tumor sites that are no longer even being reported on. She goes, well, if they're not being reported on, then they don't see them, right? And it's like, so I'm getting better. And she closed the file. She sighed. And she looked at me and she said, you are going to die from this. And all of this progress is just temporary. She said, stop your diet and get back on the treatment. And I was shocked at first. Being an alpha male, like you don't want to let someone know how they made you feel, right? It's like, I'm kind of like trying to be shocked here. But my wife and I developed a strategy for these moments, because these moments happen a lot. And they say it's about, we don't want to create false hope, but they actually are creating a false hope. They're creating this false hope that you're going to die. Everything's around, like your death is certain, so you might as well do our medicine, right? That's the false hope. And like you guys know, you guys listening to this right now, like people that believed this and did chemo for 6 years and they're dead. No one gets better. There's only people that are in between chemo. So my wife and I had this strategy for dealing with the doctor when they told us things that we didn't like. We never argue with them, because it's home court advantage, right? We never argue with them. We don't lose our cool. Instead, we say, and this is what I said to her. I looked at her and I said, thank you. You've given me a lot to think about. And, our appointment ended. We turned off her service that day, never went back to her again after that. And the reason is because if my coach doesn't think I'm going to win the game, I need a new coach. If my doctor doesn't believe I'm going to make it out of this, then I need to find a doctor who will. And so we never went back to her service again. It's interesting is because they kind of follow you around. Like, people don't realize you don't have to go to the doctor, right? I began to ask myself questions like, can I even do that? Am I allowed to stop chemo? And you have to go back to, wait a minute, I'm in control. Hey, I'm stopping chemo. The hardest part becomes how to say it. Easiest way is to send it to him in email. In the middle of it, we always go, thank you. You give me a lot to consider. We'll go home. We're going to think about this. We're going to talk about it. And then a day or two later, you send him, hey, we decided not to
go forward.
Yeah, we not to move. Well, what we told her was this, because we know the system and we know their whole thing, and they're going to come after it. And not come after it, like, hey, you should come back. Hey, you should come back. So we said, we've decided to stop treatment and enjoy our lives. Now, it's not true, but it sort of sent this feeling of like, we're just going to live out the rest of our days, But really, it was just our way of let's say something to them to where they're not going to bother us anymore. And it's not to say that I don't have doctors. I do have doctors. I've got stellar integrative consultants and nutritionists that I consult with. But look, nothing that I'm doing is not available for free or for very low cost on someone's blog somewhere, right? I don't want to say beating cancer is easy. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And it's very hard to go natural when everyone in your face wants you to go back to the doctor and submit to your doctor, who's paid by the medicine companies. That's one of the hard parts. It's hard to put your trust in something like your diet and your lifestyle and detoxing, because you don't feel that right away. That's over time. But I'll tell you this, that's why you just talk to survivors, because whether you talk to a liver cancer survivor, a kidney cancer, a brain tumor, there's nuances, but we all did the same things. There's like the 5 things that everyone does, and then there's variants for different cancers. And so it's very easy to find the way out. You just have to be willing. You have to be willing to kind of like unlearn some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Unlearning things, I think, is hard for Americans specifically because we're very prideful,
stubborn.
But what is that? I remember I was there. I know the dates of this, but when was the date that they told you, hey, this 2 years from now you're going to die? And how many years since that?
Oh yeah, September. It was like September was 2 years, and then within 1 year, I had shrunk my tumors dramatically. Some I had already. But within 1 year, I was immensely healthier. Running, hiking, jumping, healthier than I've ever been. Tumors shrinking, but still tumors. 1 more year goes by. I'm so healthy, I'm no longer doing CT scans. because CT scans expose you to radiation therapy. And I've had a lot of CT scans, right? So we began to investigate other cancer detection methods, and we moved into blood tests. And this is so valuable. A CT scan will always show something because your immune cells and your cancer cells are heavily intertwined. So there's always something. If you drink a sugar juice, especially a contrast, like they're going to see something in your CT scan. But your blood tests don't lie. So your CT scan could pull up dead tumors, benign tumors, anything where cells are gathering and kind of clumping, which is not always cancer. Whereas blood tests will measure things like nagalase. And nagalase measures your body's ability to detect cancer. So can your immune system even recognize cancer? Your nagalase is good. Yes, your body can detect cancer in your bodies. That's a great test to take. And is it detecting, right? Is it on? Is it turned on? Two, and this is the most important, is the Gallery test. It measures cancer stem cells. So cancer stem cells are actually your problem. Like we kind of say like anybody can shrink a tumor, but can you eliminate the cancer stem cells? So guess what like the number one killer of cancer stem cells is?
No, I have no idea.
Carrot juice, bro.
Oh, that's why. Oh, I think you did tell me that. Now I remember.
So
when you're looking super tan from all your carrot juice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's like a yellow tan.
Yeah.
But I drink carrot juice on the daily, mixed with some beet and ginger and stuff like this. Even now, because it's like I want to keep it away. So, you know, there's a process to it. You know what I mean? And there's things you can know, but those blood tests began to show me like better results and bigger results. And so it was 2.5 years from diagnosis to my first cancer-free test. I'm now 1 year past, 1 year past that test. So it's maybe like 3.5, close to something like that.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love to see that because in the midst of all of this is when right before that cancer diagnosis came through is when I started to work with Owen. Like you moved here to Utah, we started working together, and all of a sudden it was like that was like a bombshell.
Oh yeah, it happened out of nowhere. Yeah.
It just came out of nowhere, and it's just kind of crazy. But it's crazy to think that it's now 3.5 years later and taking steps in the right direction.
And we never lost a dime. The business never suffered. We had some big YouTubers come together and do a fundraising thing to put money together. And this is one thing that I always tell people is do a fundraiser. Oh yeah, but Owen, our friends aren't YouTubers. Yeah, but they're roofers, they're lawyers, they're plumbers, they're government workers, they're DMV. They got money. They've got a couple extra bucks. They're spending money on Xbox. They can give you $25. And it adds up, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, now I can buy a sauna for the house. Like you got to get the cancer out of your body. Detoxing is so big for me. You know, it's just like sweating it out every day. But yeah, you know, we had to unlearn a lot of stuff about like what I call hippies, you know, like the hippies. You know, it's like, oh, sure, just some dandelion tea will solve my problems. Like there's some of that, right? But like my big thing lately has been apple cider vinegar, right? It's like, that's how do you even know that does this good thing for you? You don't even know. But I gotta tell you, I've been trying apple cider vinegar lately, and I feel great, especially after meals. And it's like, I feel great after eating that meal. I want to go for a walk. Yeah. So it's like you start to you try these new things. And it's like either that worked or that didn't work for me. Mushrooms, another big one. Like I love mushrooms, and I've always liked them, but there's actually like a physical benefit I can particularly feel. You discover this when you start to go all natural. You discover things like, oh, sitting with my feet in the grass like actually really calms me down. Then there might be other people that's like does nothing for me, and that's okay. You know, you just got to find your vibe, find your protocol is what we call it. And you'll get the results you want.
Dude, so good. So good. I love hearing all this journey, and I love being a part of it and a piece of it. I have one last question for you. It kind of moves back towards the YouTube thing because I've been thinking about this a lot. I have people talking. I've had a bunch of people recently talking to me like, well, I kind of want to start a YouTube channel and I kind of want to do this and I don't really know what to do. Like, what would you give advice to people who are starting a YouTube channel, whether it's in any direction, creator, business, things like that?
Everybody should start a YouTube channel. I really do. You know, YouTube has stood the test of time. We're in the midst of a TikTok ban. This is the second ban threat and we covered it. I was on the news covering this a couple of years ago, and so it's always coming around, but nothing like this has ever happened to YouTube. YouTube is the Netflix of our generation. And so I believe that it's important to develop a YouTube now so that you can start creating content that is responsive to a viewing audience. And I'm kind of like the Mike Rowe of YouTube, right? I'm really big on, you know, you don't need fancy cameras and you don't need fancy effects. We're seeing a big uptick in like vlogging again. Yeah. Because I think that we're all a little like tuned out to the Mr. Beast air racks, like bling zing bah. So it's like a Woody Woodpecker episode half the time. Yeah. It's like a little bit too much. Now I'm okay with that, but everybody copies Mr. Beast. And so it's like every video you see now. But here's what's happening is like, I say I'm the Mike Rowe because it's like, you need to carve your audience to tailor to you need to carve your content out and tailor it to an audience. Meaning you can't just publish and not look at your analytics. When your video tanks, you have to acknowledge that. Now, you know, when you get started in a YouTube channel, that's what I think it was your question. And that's why I think it's important, because we can't just go out there painting pictures and then when no one buys it being like, well, they're just rubes. They're just unsophisticated. You're the unsophisticated one. Like, you've got to paint pictures people want in their house, right? You've got to create a channel somebody wants to see and they're looking forward to see. How do you do that? Number one, it has to be mission-based. So what's your mission? I need a reason other than the video I'm watching right now to subscribe to you. I want to know that this one video is part of a journey and not an outlier, right? Like, you get a beauty vlogger who will do one episode on her camera, right? And it's like, that shouldn't normally talk about that. It's like this one-off video is kind of a distraction. Now that's okay, but that's a bigger picture. What I want people to think about is like, what's your mission, right? So I want to start a channel because I have stories to tell about X, Y, or Z, okay? Well, why do you want to tell those stories? Maybe it's like a young pastoral type of guy, right? Or a couple, right? Well, we want to like help people be, you know, good and godly parents, you know, from a very young age. Okay, great. Well, what makes you different and stand outable about that? Right? That's the next step. So you got to have a mission. And then two is, how are you stand outable? You know, and this can be contrived sometimes, right? You've got, I mean, there's so many great examples, but there's this old YouTuber back in the day that had a red phone where he would call Britney Spears. And so, you know, it was a pop commentary sort of channel, like pop news kind of, but the whole idea was really like out loud personality, kind of stuff like, here's what happened in the news. Oh my gosh, I'm going to call Britney. And then a red phone would pop up and he'd grab the phone and be like, are you there? And it's like this whole thing that would come, like, you'd come back for it, right? It's like these little conventions. You got to have a thing that you do. You got to have like a reason people like you. Like, oh, I like Billy because he involves his little kids. People love that about my stuff. My kids are not part of the content, although we did build a whole comedy channel with them. But in my everyday content, they're in the background. I want people to know that I'm an active, attentive father and that I film with my kids in the room. Like, I want them to know that. So I build that into my things. And that's, I think, where you've got to go. The next thing you've got to do is you've got to create a launch series. A series that says, and you should do this twice a year. We think about launching, you think it's once. No, I think that you should think about your favorite TV shows, right? It's like next season of. So in the beginning, you're not going to get a ton of virality, right? People have to search for you. They have to find you. So you create like a season of videos and they're all on one topic or showing you do one thing, right? I don't know. I have so many examples, right? I'm going to do a season. I'm a woodworker. I'm going to do a season where I make goods for the home. How to make a table, how to make cabinets, how to make a bowl, right? And then in season 2, maybe in summer, you're going to do a different series. So working with fur or working with birch, right? So you've got a mission where in every video you're like, hey, we started this channel because we're on a mission to help people make awesome woodworking products, right? The reason people watch you, maybe you make 80s references. Now, today's woodwork, we're going to rebuild the table from the first Top Gun. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something, right? And then 3, you're making videos that are binge watchable, part of a series. So, I think what we get into is people want to hear your opinions all day long. They don't. You have to give them a reason to love you. And when you do that, then people will come back to hear what your thoughts are on Trump and taxes and, all the different hot fire, like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, you know what I mean? But, get out there with a mission, get out there with a USP, a unique service proposition, something you do uniquely, and make videos that are binge watchable. You know what I mean? If you get hung up in a Rode Procaster and all the mics and stuff, man, like other channels that have nothing are just going to launch in front of you and get the views you should have got.
Yeah. So and I think that's the struggle a lot of time too, is I'm the camera guy. I already have all the cameras and all the things. I was like, Billy, I can't do what you do. I'm like, dude, you just got to start. Do you have a phone? Do you have a microphone? You don't even have a microphone. It doesn't matter. Just create something and just kind of get it from there and just get started first instead of thinking about all of the other things, because these big things will come. The lights will come. The cameras will come down the line. Yeah. But you got to actually build the habit to get to that spot in YouTube as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, dude. So where can people find your stuff? Where do you?
Everywhere. I'm everywhere on the web at Owen Video, but you can also check out at Cancer Fighter Owen, and you'll see our cancer content there. We are doing incredible things there. We are launching a cancer product designed for people that are going through treatment and how to educate them. It's very hard to find nowadays with post-COVID world, like the information that you need. We use other browsers and whatnot so that you can find more of the information. So we're building some great stuff for the cancer community, and we want to see 1 million people beat cancer naturally. So all of that's available at Cancer Fighter Owen. Great content there, and a really great example of what's working on YouTube and on Instagram, because those channels are where we're uploading a lot of great content.
Well, dude, thanks so much for coming on, and I'm excited to see the rest of the journey and see all the things that we do together.
Well, you're going to be there for most of it. So.
Yeah, basically. We're in there for a lot of it.
You'll be behind me filming.
Behind the camera filming, behind the scenes guy for sure.
I love it, bro. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.